Welcome to the Business Podcast, where we interview professionals across all industries. Hey, it's Simon. Welcome back. Today we have Esben Friis-Jensen, co-founder of Userflow and former founder of Cobalt. Esben, it's great to have you here with us today. How are you?
Great to be here. I'm good.
Fantastic. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about yourself and in particular, something that most people don't know about you.
Yeah, no. So first of all, I'm as you maybe can hear from my strange accent, I'm from Denmark. Grew up in Copenhagen, Denmark. But today I live in San Francisco, where I started both Cobalt and Userflow from. So yeah, been living in San Francisco for the last 8 years. I guess one thing most don't know about me is that I grew up in Tanzania when I was a young kid. So that's also interesting. So I've been globally raised, you can say. So it's good.
Fantastic. And could you tell us a little bit about your business experience and how you got into founding Cobalt and your current company?
Yeah, so before I went into this whole startup game, I was working for Accenture, the big US consultancy business in Copenhagen. But I think I've always been kind of like an entrepreneur by heart, always even inside Accenture would invent stuff all the time, like can't we do this better, can we do that better? So I always had that drive to invent something. When it became more normal, so this was back in 2013, to go into the startup game, it was like an obvious choice for me. And I co-founded Cobalt together with 3 other Danish friends back then. And Cobalt, for those who don't know, is a security company that does what we call pen test as a service. Yeah, it's been widely successful. We just, I think, reached close to 200 employees with that company and raised the Series B last year. So it's been an amazing ride. But I think this year I wanted to go back to the startup game, and that's why or early stage startup game, and that's why I decided to leave my operational role at Cobalt and join my co-founder Sebastian at Userflow, and really start something from scratch again and get into that exciting part of a business.
Yeah, you talk about the exciting part. What is exciting about it?
I think it's about creating something that will bring value to a lot of people. I think especially in a consultancy business, you're helping one customer, right? You're solving a problem typically for a big enterprise customer, and that of course also has some value, but really what I want to do is build products that can have an impact on more than just one business. I really want to create industries, and I think we were able to do that with Cobalt, where we changed an industry from being highly consultant driven, which penetration testing is, to being a platform software driven model. And now with Userflow, what we're doing is helping companies become more product led. So basically there's this whole movement called product led growth, which we're playing into, where so basically what Userflow does is it allows you to build in-app onboarding and guidance, and really, for instance, help guide the users to the aha moments in a trial and in a free trial and so on. And that's changing the entire software as a service industry, is this whole product-led movement. And I'm excited to be part of one of the key players in that space and driving that new kind of movement forward. So I think that's what I enjoy, like building products that have an impact on multiple businesses and brings a lot of value.
Certainly. Could you talk a little bit about some of the challenges that you faced building Cobalt and Userflow?
Yeah, I think I mean, there are there are many challenges when you're building a startup, right? That's just part of the game. And I think like you can probably dive into many things. I think with Cobalt, it was my first and also my three co-founders' first startup. So there was a lot of things to learn. We basically had to learn everything from scratch, everything from how do you almost like, none of us were actually developers. So some of them had to learn to code. We had to learn how you sell, how you do customer success, how you do raise money, and all that kind of stuff. So that was a big learning experience. We went through an accelerator, or actually two accelerators, one called Boost VC and another one called Alchemist, which both taught us a lot about this whole how you run a business and so on. And now with Userflow, both my co-founder and I have now done this game before, so now it's a different thing. Right now we know a lot of this baseline stuff and are taking a lot of those experiences with us, and it makes things a lot easier, so we can focus on just building an amazing product and not having to think too much about all these other things. But there are always new challenges and new kind of ways you have to think about, like go to market or product development and so forth. But it's definitely, it makes it a lot easier that you've done it one time before.
Yeah, on that note, you know, given that it was your first startup and now you're working on your second, what were some of the key wins that you're proud of thinking about now?
I think with Cobalt back in the days, it started out with, like, you know, from the very early days, it was just getting customers to actually use your product. That was a big win, right? That you could actually build something that customers would use. I've always been very customer focused, and I think over time the bigger wins was that larger and larger customers were using the offering, right? And that was amazing that you could get like a big company to pay, you know, basically six figures amounts for your product, right? That is something that shows you're bringing value and that you're changing an industry. So those has always been big wins. Then there's of course also, I think, and that was something I was very kind of interested in those early days, and I think many first-time founders is raising money, right? And we were always proud that we could also get that validation from venture capital, raise money. You know, in Cobalt we raised, I think, a total of $37 million. So that's also a big win. And then the third win, I would say, is building an amazing team. Like, we grew, you know, from the 4 founders to almost 200 employees, and that is kind of insane to think about, that we've been able to create that many jobs and have gotten a lot of friends and great colleagues out of that. So those are things that I'm very proud of today. And now with Userflow, we are on a new journey where I'm looking forward to other kind of new challenges and things I can be proud of. I think one of the things we're trying a bit differently this time is actually to not have a too big team, to see how far we can get with being very product driven, and relying more on the product instead of having to hire a lot of people to support the process. And that's an interesting challenge and not an easy one, but it's a fun one. And the same goes actually for raising money. We're not like going out looking to raise money. We're also trying to see if we can just generate enough revenue ourselves without having to raise money and build a strong business without that. So those are two interesting challenges that are new to me in comparison to what we did at Cobalt.
Well, that's good to hear, taking a different approach.
Yeah.
When it comes to your ideal kind of client profile and the customers that you're working with, what kind of insight can you share there with your current company?
Yeah, so we're kind of So Userflow, as mentioned, we do in-app onboarding, in-app guidance, and we're doing it in a method that's another big trend in the industry that's called no-code or low-code, which basically means you don't need to be a developer to build these things. So imagine we're basically allowing people to build a guide or checklist or surveys inside their own application, but we're allowing it to be built without having to code anything. So our end users are actually mostly either product managers, UX people, designers, or customer success managers who are building these flows. And that's a fun challenge. And from a business perspective, who we focus on is mostly software as a service. And so basically like software as a service businesses who often have like a free trial, or even if they don't have a free trial, they want to onboard their customers in a scalable way. And that's what Userflow allows them to do. So yeah, ideal customer profile is software businesses or businesses who have software online, and then it's mostly, you know, customer success, product, UX, so forth.
And when it comes to some of the unique features and functionalities that your current clients value, what insight can you share there?
Yeah, I mean, we've been very focused on making it as easy as possible to build something that's advanced enough to make it valuable, right? Because the alternative to using something like Userflow is going out building something yourself, right? But that takes developer time and so on. But a reason for why you could consider doing it is that you don't feel the tools can provide enough sophisticated features, right? But we've really focused on like providing a sophisticated feature set while still making the UX easy enough for non-developers to use it. So that's the kind of balance we always have to focus on, and that's what we are very passionate about. How do you make an advanced tool that's easy to use? And I think so far we've been quite successful at that. Yeah, we for instance made the builder you're using. It's like a Kanban style builder. So many people are maybe familiar with tools like Trello and so on. So a bit similar to that. It's like drag and drop interface. So something that people have familiarity with and kind of can easily kind of drag and drop their way to building these guides and tours.
Fantastic. What would you say is something that's exciting you now in this necessitated move to make businesses more digital?
Yeah, I think it's a change of mindset. It's going to be a big, even for software businesses. A lot of software businesses have for a long time been actually sales-led, right? People driven in many ways. They're still like selling their products with sales meetings and so on, right? And I think now the market is maturing enough that you're gonna go completely digital in many ways, right? Or as far as you can go, right? And that's going to be super interesting. And that's the whole kind of product-led movement that we're also playing into at Userflow. Basically, how much can you actually do without involving people in the process, right? Like just allowing people to self-serve digitally, just, you know, like consumers do it in many applications today. You want to do the same for B2B applications, for instance. So I find that super interesting, that whole product-led movement, and how much you can allow customers to self-serve. Because I think, at least for me personally, and I know that's also a big trend in the industry, most people actually don't want to talk to people necessarily. They want to self-serve. They want to figure out stuff themselves. They want to see the value themselves. So you're actually just adding friction by adding a person into that mix. So yeah, I find that super interesting, how you can bring value in a self-service fashion.
Absolutely. When it comes to some of the best advice that you've received, when it comes to growing and scaling businesses? What comes to mind?
I think the best the advice we lived for a long time by at Cobalt, and I think it was actually Adam Draper from Boost VC who gave us this advice. But it's also been something we've had as a mindset, is focus. I think when you're a small business, or when you're growing, even when you're a bit larger business, you can often end up doing too many things at once, and that actually slows down your growth. Whereas if you focus on doing one thing exceptionally well, you will grow much faster if you're doing the right thing and focusing on that. To give an example, I mean, we could at Userflow, we could go into, you know, offering, besides from our guides, we could also offer a chat, right? We could offer like a new product, but then by offering a chat, we would also kind of lose focus on our guiding part, right? And then you kind of get a mediocre product for two things instead of a strong product for one thing, right? So I think, especially in the early days as a startup, I think that is super important, that you focus on doing one thing in a good way, and not getting distracted by doing too many things.
When it comes to statistics of success for clients using your product, what can you share?
Yeah, no, so we don't have, we haven't done like a big analytics report, so I don't have like those kind of numbers, but I think what we offer in the product is an analytics part that allows our customers to actually see what they're doing. And we've also done a couple of case studies where people have explained how much time they have kind of saved from, for instance, their customer support by adding guides. I can also talk from our own data. So we're actually using Userflow on Userflow, and we definitely see a high correlation between people who are completing our guides and converting into customers. So we have a 2-week free trial, and the people who actually go through our guides and get to know our product better, they have a higher chance of converting. So that's a good sign. And then you can also tweak and iterate on how can you get more people to get to that aha moment, right? So that's super interesting. So we've seen amazing results with Userflow, both in terms of conversion, user activation, and retention. You can also use Userflow to retain customers by doing feature highlights and ensuring feature adoption and so forth. Yeah, I don't have like a big analytics report, but we've definitely seen strong results, and we have an NPS of like 90 from our customers, so very happy customers.
And in doing your day-to-day tasks, what applications do you find yourself most using?
Yeah, so we are, of course, like I think every startup out there today is heavily using Slack, right, for communication. So Slack is definitely a tool we're in every single day. So that is big for us. For chat, we use Intercom on our website, so we also use that a lot for support and so on. And then of course Gmail. Email still hasn't gone completely away, and probably isn't going away. So yeah, we still use Gmail. But yeah, I would say those are like the three tools we use a lot. And then there's a lot of like cool new exciting tools that are coming out that makes it easier to do product management and manage this whole product-led experience. You know, there are data tools like iteratively or Mixpanel or Amplitude and these kind of segment tools that many are using. There are session tools like LogRocket is a cool tool. So yeah, there are many like cool tools appearing in the space of product-led growth, and I only think we're going to see more and more tools coming out there.
Thanks for sharing that. Now, if you could go back in time, any point in time, and spend the day with anyone from history, who would it be, and what would you do?
Oh man, that is something I never thought about actually. That's a very interesting question. Yeah, who would I go back to? Yeah, I actually don't have a really good answer to that question. Sorry, it's I don't think I have like historical role models like that. I much more look at current time kind of role models, and follow them, right, and get inspired by many people to move to the next. And these doesn't even have to be famous people. It just has to be like, maybe it's been my peers, or in the past it was my man in Accenture. I had a lot of people that guided me in a good direction. And I think I've always learned from those, and looking at those. So yeah, I don't have like a big dream to go back and spend the time with someone. Really, it's not something I go around thinking a lot about.
Well, it's been a pleasure speaking with you, and definitely looking forward to doing it again. But until then, maybe you can share a parting thought until we connect again.
Sorry, can you repeat that? I didn't catch that.
Yeah, perhaps you could share a final message before we connect again.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think for everybody out there who's like listening, of course, go visit Userflow and check us out, right? But besides from that, I think especially for SaaS founders out there, I think you should all look into these kind of the whole product-led growth movement. It's super interesting, and there's a lot of interesting things happening there. And we've seen success stories like Slack, Zoom, etc. That's really succeeded with this model. And yeah, I find it super fascinating, and I highly encourage people to get involved in that movement. So yeah.
Fantastic. Looking forward to speaking soon. Cheers.
You too, Hyman. Have a good one.
Thanks for attending the Business Podcast, and stay tuned for more episodes.